Namaskar. The greatest problem that India faced on the eve of her independence related to the partition of the country. This problem had two facets, namely the communal Holocaust on account of the direct atrocity observed by the Muslim League, the Great Calcutta killings, and the large exodus of population to and from Pakistan. This it was responsible for the largest movement of people in the world's history. By the end of 1947, 10 million people had been herded or driven out from one country to another. The resettlement of this uprooted population placed a crippling burden on the economy of the country. Another problem related to the demarcation of boundary between the two countries on the basis of the Red Cliff Award announced on August 17, 1947. Rao Bahadur, Maile Chinna, Thambi Pillai, Raja, June 17, 1883 to August 20, 1943 was a Dalit politician, social and political activist from the Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Raja joined politics at an early age and was elected president of the Singalput District Board. In 1916, he became the secretary of the Adi Dravida Mahajana Sabha. He was one of the founder members of the South Indian Liberal Federation. Raja was elected to the Madras Legislative Council as a Justice Party candidate during the first general elections held in November 1920. He was elected deputy leader of the Justice Party in the House. Raja was the first member of the Dalit community to be elected to the Madras Legislative Council. In 1822, Raja passed a resolution demanding that the terms Paraya and Panchama be dropped from political languages and instead be substituted with Adi Dravida and Adi Andhra. In 1921, the Justice Party government of the Raja of Panagal introduced reservations for backward classes in government jobs. However, this act did not allocate quotas for Dalits. Dissented Raja led a delegation of Dalits to protest the act and press their demand for inclusion. But the Justice Party did not respond. Instead, riots broke out in Pulianthope the same year. Top-ranking Justice Party leaders regarded the government's policy of impeachment as the least responsible for the strike. Outraged at this, Raja quit the party in 1923. He remained a member of the Madras Legislative Council till 1926. In 1928, he created and became the president of the All India Depressed Castes Association. From 1926 till 1937, he was a member of the Imperial Legislative Assembly. During April-July 1937, he was the Madras Presidency's Minister for Development in the short-lived interim provisional cabinet of Kurma Venkata Reddy Naidu. In North India, it was the Arya Samaj founded by the Anand Saraswati which attracted a large following. The Anand Saraswati looked upon the Veda as India's rock of ages. He believed that the India's religion and the Vedas on which it was based were eternal, unalterable, infallible. Therefore, gave the slogan "Go back to the Vedas," and the Vedas are the source of all knowledge. He rejected the authority of the later Hindu scriptures like Puranas, which in his view were responsible for the evil practices of idol worship and other superstitious beliefs in the Hindu religion. On the assumption that the Vedas were the only source of all knowledge and by rejecting all post-Vedic developments, the Arya Samaj denounced the infinite number of meaningless rites and worship of the images of different gods and goddesses, which split the people into numerous belligerent sects repudiated the authority of the Brahmins and launched a crusade against all religious superstitions. These were the progressive components in the program of the Arya Samaj. Its slogan "Back to Vedas" was inspired to revive the true Vedic religion and bring about national unity and to kindle national pride and consciousness. Satyendranath was selected for the Indian Civil Service in June 1863. He completed his probationary training and returned to India in November 1864. Mono Mohun Ghosh did not succeed in examination for the ICS but was called to the bar. Satyendranath was posted to Bombay Presidency, which then covered western parts of present-day Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Sindh. After initial posting of 4 months in Bombay, now Mumbai, he had his first active posting at Ahmedabad. With postings at numerous towns, he traveled across the country. Because of his long stay away from home, many in his family visited him and stayed with him for long periods. Amongst his regular visitors were his younger brother, Jyoti Indranath Tagore, from 1849 to 1925, and Rabindranath Tagore from 1861 to 1941, the Nobel Prize winning poet, and his sister Swarna Kumari Devi. His posting outside Bengal helped him to learn several Indian languages. He translated Bal Gangadhar Tilak's Gita Rahasya and Tukaram's Abhanga poems into Bengali. Rabindranath Tagore had also translated some poems of Tukaram. Satyendranath took an active interest in activities of Brahmo Samaj wherever he was posted. For example, at Ahmedabad and Hyderabad, Sindh, while in the Maharashtra region, he had close contacts with many of the leading reformers and Prarthana Samaj figures: Mahadev Govind Ranade, Kashinath Trimbak Telang, Ramakrishna Gopal Bhandarkar, and Narayan Ganesh Chandavarkar. He served in the ISIS for about 30 years and retired as judge of Satara in Maharashtra in 1897. On 14th July 1942, the Congress Working Committee appealed to Britain to withdraw from India with goodwill so that a provisional government might be established which would cooperate with the United Nations in resisting aggression. The committee, however, affirmed that should this appeal fail, the Congress will then be reluctantly compelled to utilize all the non-violent strength it might have gathered since 1920. As scheduled, the All India Congress Committee (AICC) convened in Bombay on 7th August 1942 and adopted a resolution which justified the demand for the British to quit India, Bharat Choro, and explained its implications. Earlier, it formulated the broad outlines of the constitution for a provisional government, including its composition and aims, outlined a solution to the communal problem and declared India's aspirations for world peace and amity. The ICC endorsed the Quit India Resolution on 8th August 1942. It authorized the starting of mass struggle on non-violent lines on the widest possible scale. Quit India or do or die. These simple but powerful slogans coined by Gandhiji launched the legendary struggle which also became famous by the name of the August Revolution. The government took prompt steps to prevent the outbreak of movement. In the early morning of August 9, 1942, Gandhiji and all other important Congress leaders were arrested and the Congress was once again declared illegal. Congress began to be declared illegal since 1920 after it began mass movements, be it non-cooperation movement or civil disobedience. The government hoped this would stifle the movement, but the rulers had not correctly gauged the changed mood of the people. Spontaneous acts of protests, hartals, strikes, processions followed the arrests. Students played a major role in organizing these demonstrations. Students, workers, and peasants provided the backbone of the movement. The people had no guidance. Most of the leaders were in prison. Some had gone underground, and passions were raging high. Individuals and groups interpreted the situation to the best of their understanding and acted as they thought best. The continuing repression and ordinance Raj further inflamed the people of the feelings of the people. Initially, the movement was based on non-violent lines. It was the repressive policy of the government which provoked the people to take recourse to violence. The Gandhian message of non-violent struggle was pushed into the background and people divided them of struggle. It may be noted here that it was the only All India movement which was without any leader. The Madras Textile Labour Union was formed in 1918 with Vipin Bardia as its president. It was the first of the modern kind of trade union. The leader of the Ijwa caste, the untouchable caste, Sri Narayan Guru, established the recent degree Sri Narayan Dharma Paripalana Yogam in Kerala and many placed outside Kerala. Sorry. Narayan and his associates launched a two-point program for the uplift of the Ajwas to give up the practice of untouchability and building temples which were open to all castes. He also simplified rituals regarding marriage, religious worships, and funerals. Narayana Guru achieved notable success in transforming the untouchable groups into a backward class. He gave a new slogan: "One religion, one caste, and one God for mankind." A committee was appointed in 1875 to inquire into the conditions of factory work in the country. This committee had favored some kind of legal restrictions in the form of factory laws. During Lord Ripon's time, the first Factory Act was adopted in 1881. Following this act, a factory commission was appointed in 1885. There were another Factories Act in 1891 and a Royal Commission on Labour was appointed in 1892. The result of these enactments was the limitation on the factory working hours. This was announced by the government from the pathetic conditions of the workers in the factory, wherein only when a labourer exhausted, new labourer was to take his her place. The Third Anglo-Mysore War from 1789 to 1792 war between the two again began in 1789 and ended with Tipu's defeat in 1792. Even though Tipu fought with exemplary bravery, Lord Cornwallis, the then Governor-General, had succeeded through shrewd diplomacy in isolating him by winning over the Marathas, the Nizam, and the rulers of the Travancore and Coorg. The Third Mysore War came to end by the Treaty of Seringpatnam in March 1792. Tipu Sultan had lost half of his territory as a result of Third Mysore War and was burning with revenge. He wanted to get back his territory, and to achieve this objective, he carried on negotiations with the French and Jahnua Shah of Kabul. Karoli estate was a princely estate in India. Legend had it that the prince estate of Princely state of Karoli, ruled by Jodhan Chandra Vanshi Rajput/Lunar clans, was founded about 995 by Raja Vijay Pal, a Yadvanshi Rajput ruler. Arjun Dev founded the Karoli in 1348. In 1817, Karoli signed a treaty with the East India Company and British government and became its ally state. The status was maintained till the independence of India in 1947. Bharmal's eldest brother Raja Puranmal died at the Battle of Andrel in 1834 while helping Humayun to recapture the fort of Bayana. He had a son named Surajmal or Suja, but he was not recognized as king, and his younger brother Raja Bhim Singh ascended to the throne of Pambar. Bhim Singh was succeeded by his son Raja Ratan Singh, and Raja Bharmal succeeded him in 1548. Indian Council Act of 1860 won the provisions of this act for introduced for the first time the representative institutions in India. It thus provided that Governor General's Executive Council should have some Indians as non-official members while transacting legislative business. It initiated the process of decentralization powers to the Bombay and Madras presidencies. 3. It accorded the statutory recognition to the portfolio system. 3. It accorded the statutory recognition to the portfolio system. 4. It empowered the Governor General to frame rules for more convenient transaction of business in the council. Montagu Declaration 1917. On August 20, 1917, Montagu, the new Secretary of State, made a historic declaration in the House of Commons. The policy of the Majesty's government is that of the increasing association of Indians in every branch of administration and the gradual development of self-governing institutions with the view to progressive realization of responsible government in India as an integral part of the British Empire. Butler Committee was headed by Harcourt Butler. It was appointed by Viceroy of India, Irving. It reviewed the question of paramountcy. The Princes of India wanted to review the issue of paramountcy while bargaining for their participation in round table conference where the British government wanted them to be. Butler included paramountcy. Butler concluded paramountcy must remain paramount. The judgment of the committee was not in favor of the Council of Princes. However, the main fear of the princes was that if the dominion status was imparted to Indian, then there would be a central government dominated by the Congress members. However, later as the talks progressed, the idea of federal government at center was favored, and the issue of Dominion status was just made silent. The features which were suggested under the federal structure in India were such that the princes did not have to fear the Congress majority control at central level. It was only after 1870 that real progress was made in the direction of local self-government. The Revolution of 1870, dealing with the decentralization of finance, referred to the necessity of taking further steps to bring local interest and supervision to bear on the management of funds devoted to education, sanitation, public works, cities. Between 1871 and 1874, new municipal acts were passed in various provinces, and they extended the elective principle. The machinery of administration was, as it evolved under the Delhi Sultanate, was derived from the Abbasid and following it the Ghaznavid and the Seljuk system of administration. systems of administration. It was also influenced by the Iranian system of administration and the situation in India and Indian tradition. The Turks were also able to evolve a number of new institutions and concepts which provided a basis for centralization of power and authority of a type which had not existed in India earlier. In theory, the Muslim state was a theocracy, that is, the head of state was also the religious head and derived his position and authority from God. Thus, the Khalifa was the supreme head of the whole Muslim world, with the exception of Alauddin Khilji and Mubarak Khilji. The Sultan dominated the central government. He was the legal head of the state and acted as the chief executive and the highest court of appeal. The Sultan generally discussed all important matters of state in council, Majlis-e-Khalwat or Majlis-e-Am, in which the most trusted and the highest officers were allowed to sit. He was the chief of the armed forces and made appointments to all the higher civil and military posts. The Sultan administered all the departments and every branch of state. Malik Naib or Deputy Sultan was appointed only when ruler was weak or minor. Capture of Calcutta, capture of Calcutta 1756 AD. Siraj had reasonable grounds to seek a settlement of accounts with the English. Under his orders, the Qasim Bazar factory was occupied and looted. May 1756, he personally led an attack on Calcutta, and after some resistance, the city fell. June 20, 1756, Governor Drake and several other officers disgracefully deserted the city. When its fall seemed imminent, they escaped to Fulta, Holwell and a number of Europeans surrendered. Holwell and a number of Europeans Holwell and a number of Europeans surrendered. All these prisoners were crowded in a chamber 18 feet by 14 feet or 10 inches, with only one window. Throughout the hot night of June, according to Holwell, they numbered about 165 or 170, and the next morning only about 60 came out alive, the rest being suffocated to death. The British historians call this event the Black Hole Tragedy. Holwell's account of the Black Hole Tragedy remained current for about 2 centuries. The modern view is that the number of prisoners who died was probably only 60. Siraj was not personally responsible for the consequence of the confinement of the prisoners, which was arranged by his officers. The machinery of administration, as it evolved under the Delhi Sultanate, was derived from the Abbasid and following it the Ghaznavids and Seljukids systems of administration. It was also influenced by the Iranian system of administration and the situation in Indian traditions. The Turks were also able to evolve a number of new institutions and concepts which provided a basis for centralization of power and authority of a type which had not existed in India earlier. In theory, the Muslim state was a theocracy, that is, the head of the state was also the religious head and derived his position and authority from God. Thus, the Caliph was the supreme head of the whole Muslim world, with the exception of Alauddin Khilji and Mubarak Khilji. All other sultans styled themselves as deputies of the Caliph, with titles such as Nasir-e-Amir ul Mu'min or Yamin ul Khalifa. Although the Sultans of Delhi confessed formal allegiance to the Caliphate, the Sultan was always an independent state for all practical purposes. The Sultan dominated the central government. He was He was the legal head of the state and acted as the chief executive and the highest court of appeal. The Sultan generally discussed all important matters of state in council, Majlis-e-Khalwat or Majlis-e-Aam, in which the most trusted and the highest officers were allowed to sit. He was the chief of the armed forces and made appointments to all the highest civil and military posts. The Sultan administered all departments and every branch of state. Malik Naib or Deputy Sultan was appointed only whenever it was weak or minor. minor. The usage of coins in Mughal era started during the reign of Babur. Such coins were also issued by Humayun and Akbar during the first 3 years of his reign. Babur issued silver Shahrukis. However, these coins were actually introduced by the Timurid ruler Shah Rukh in early 15th century AD. These coins were thin, broad pieces of about 72 grains. On the alternative side of the coins was the enclosed kalima with the names of four caliphs and their epithets in the margin. The reverse side of the coin included the king's name, and in the margin were his titles along with the name of the mint and the date. The coins of Babur were the names and titles Al-Sultan Al-Azam, Wal Khakan al-Mukarram, Zahiruddin Muhammad Babur Badshah Ghazi. The titles of the Humayun's coins were same as on the coins of Babur. On Humayun's coins, the name Muhammad Humayun Bad Shah Ghazi was used. On Akbar's coin, he retained the earlier titles and used his name as Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar Badshah. The Mughal art of painting, like the Mughal architecture, was the outcome of many sorry the Mughal art of painting, like the Mughal architecture, was the outcome of many influences. In the beginning, during the reign of Babur and Humayun, it was affected altogether by the Persian influence. During the reign of Akbar, the policy of religious toleration and the mutual feelings of friendship between Hindus and Muslims deeply affected the art of painting also, and in this way it became a mixture of the Persian and the Indian influences. Thus, slowly the Persian influence began to decrease, so much so that in the margin of Jahangir, this art became really Indian, and the Persian influence on it was insignificant. Following were the highlights of the Mughal paintings. The Mughals introduced new themes depicting the court battle scenes and the stage and added new sorry the Mughals introduced new themes depicting the court battle scenes and the chase and added new colors peacock blue and Indian red. Humayun had taken into his service two master painters, Mir Shahid Ali and Abdus Samad. These two painters were ordered to paint the famous Dastani Amir Hamza Basawan Taswanat Harivans. Abdus Samad and Farooq Beg were the famous painters in Akbar's court. Apart from illustrating Persian books of fables, Hamjanama, the painters illustrated Hamjanama, Mahabharata, and Akbarnama. Under Akbar, European painting was introduced at the court by the Portuguese priests. Quino, Jahangir was a connoisseur of art. During his period, purely Indian style of painting developed. Portrait painting reached a climax during Jahangir. Aga Raja Muhammad Nadir, Muhammad Murad Manohar, Bishan Das and Govardhan were famous painters during Jahangir. Balaji Vishnu Nath from 1713 to 1720. He began his career as a small revenue official and was given the title of Senakademikar of the army by Sahu in 1708. He became Peshwa in 1713 and made the post the most important and powerful as well as hereditary. He played a crucial role in the final victory of Shahu over the Mughals by winning over almost all the Maratha Sardars to the side of Shah. He concluded an agreement with the Sayyid brothers 1719 by which the Mughal Emperor Farrukh Shah recognized Sahu as the king of the Swaraj Maratha Confederacy. The origin of the Maratha Confederacy may be traced to the revival of the Jagir or Saranjam system by Raja Ram, but it was only in the time of Baji Rao. But it was only in the time of Baji Rao one that the system made a place for itself. In this process, should later of authority to his various Maratha Sardars for collecting Chauth and Sardes Mukhi from various parts of India. These sorry, these letters of authority were called Saranjam. The holders of these Saranjams were called Saranjamdars. They merely recognized the Peshwas as their nominal head after the death of Shahu. In this way, across the Maratha Confederacy consisting of Raghuji Bhonsle of Berar, Gaikwad of Baroda, Holkar of Indore, Sindhia of Gwalior, and the Peshwa of Pune. But unfortunately, the Maratha Confederacy, owing to internal desertion, fell prey to the British imperialism in the Confederacy decade. Tughlaq, the Tughlaq building showed stark simplicity and sobriety, probably indicating less financial resources as well as a puritanical taste. The buildings are characterized by sloping walls and a dark appearance, typical of the Tughlaq style. Either thick and battered of or sloping walls, quaint arches for supporting domes, multi-domed roofs and tapering minaret-like buttresses or supports at the external angles of buildings. The tramblet and arcuate are combined. Some notable Tughlaq monuments are the fort at Tughlaqabad, the tomb of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, which marked a new phase in Indo-Islamic architecture by serving as a model for later tomb, the fort of Adilabad, Firoz Shah's capital at Delhi, now known as Kotla Firoz Shah. He and a group of buildings at Hoj Khas in Delhi with Firoz Shah's tomb, a strong amount of imagination and a bold diversity of design is also displayed in the Lodi architecture. Another characteristic was the use of double domes. So one building of note is the Mohd Ki Masjid, erected by the Prime Minister of Sikandar Lodhi. Knew that in order to secure his Indian kingdom, a clash with the Rajputs was inevitable. Therefore, immediately after the occupation of Delhi and Agra, he also began to prepare for war with Rana Sanga. Of the forces of Babur and Rana Sanga came face to face with each other sometime in February 1527 at Khanwaha, a small village situated at a distance of about 37 miles from Agra. Rana Sanga had about 80,000 80,000 soldiers and 1,000 elephants under his command, while the 18,000 soldiers and 1,000 elephants under his command, while the Mughal army numbered about 2 lakhs. The maximum number of soldiers over commanded by the maximum number of soldiers ever commanded by Babur in any single action. Babur's arrangement of the battlefront was similar to and in improvement upon that he had previously made it Panipat, he got no less than 25 days to marshal his forces in the battle array and took care to keep an exceptionally strong army in reserve behind the lines. In spite of all this, there was panic among his men, who had heard many stories of Rajput chivalry and courage. Babur was now called upon to meet warriors of a higher type than he had encountered. The Rajputs, energetic, chivalrous, fond of battle and bloodshed, animated by a strong national spirit, were ready to meet face to face the boldest veterans of the camp, and were at all times prepared to lay down life for their honor. The position was made still more ominous by the currency of a prophecy made by Muhammad Sharif, astrologer from Kabul, that Babur sorry that Babur would not be successful in that encounter. Babur, however, rose to the occasion. In order to boost the morale of his forces, he declared jihad, holy war against the Kafirs, offered prayers to God for success, and in a dramatic performance, renounced wine for life, broke all the wine pots and precious gold and silver vessels carried by his entourage, and declared abolition of stamp duty tamga on all the Muslim subjects of his dominions. After a few skirmishes, the two mighty armies finally clashed on March 17, 1527. The Rajputs fought desperately and refused to yield ground even after 10 hours of bloody fighting. The Mughal artillery and the flanking movements of Babur's Tulugma parties seemed to have proved ineffective, albeit when defeat started the Mughals in the face. Babur's reserves plunged themselves into the field and turned the tables on the enemy. Rana Sanga was seriously wounded, but removed to safety by his followers in a state of unconsciousness. The next day, Babur mounted a platform prepared over the dead bodies of the Rajputs and proclaimed victory by assuming the title of Ghazi, victory in the holy war against the Kafirs. Amir Khusro was the first and by far the most prominent representative of Indo-Muslim culture of early medieval India. His major works include Quran-us-Sadan, Miftah-ul-Futuh, Khazan-ul-Futuh, Deval-Rani, Khishli-Khani, Nuh-Sipir, and Tughlaq-Nama. Quran-us-Sala, sorry, Quran-us-Sadan gives an eyewitness account of the meeting that took place in Oudh between Sultan Qaboobad and his father Bughra Khan, the governor of Bengal. Miftah-ul-Futuh contains an account of the military campaigns of Jalaluddin Khilji in poetry. Khazin-ul-Futuh or Tarikh-e-Ilahi is an historiographical composition in prose which describes the conquests and other achievements of Alauddin Khilji. Ijara system of revenue farming. Officially, this system was disapproved by the Mughals, though certain villages were sometimes farmed out. Ijara system of revenue farming. Officially, this system was disapproved of by the Mughals, though certain villages were sometimes farmed out. Jabti, the system of land revenue assessment, popularly known as Ane Dhashala to Darmal Bandobast, Rotwari system बंदोबस्त जारी technically known as Jabti system which became operative in 1582. Initially this system was introduced in 8 provinces of the Mughal Empire. There were 5 stages of this revenue settlement: the measurement of land, its classification into good, middle and bad lands, assessment of the one-third of the produce as land revenue, conversion of the state demand into cash, and finally the mode of the collection of in 1519, Babur stormed Bazaar, which fell after a spirited struggle in which Babur's artillery played a decisive part. Babur occupied Bhira, where gunpowder was used for the first time. Babur quit India, leaving Bhira in the charge of Hindu Beg, but the latter was soon 1519 expelled from the natives. The same year in September, Babur again marched through the Khyber in order to subdue the Yusuf, Yusufzai and make Peshawar fort as a base for future operations in Hindustan. But he was recalled by disturbing news from Badakhshan, which came into Babur's possession in 1520. For the third time, Babur marched in 1520 through Bajar towards Vira, subduing the recalcitrant Afghan tribes on the way. He processed to Sialkot, which submitted without striking a blow. The people of Saidpur defied Babur but were easily subdued. However, Babur had to hastily retrace his steps again to fight Shah Beg, Arghun ruler of Kandahar. After Nasiruddin Muhammad Balban ascended the throne, Balban's original name was Bahauddin. With his accession began the Balbani dynasty, an era of strong centralized government. He realized the need to strengthen the authority of the Sultan and wanted to curtail the power of Chahalgani. Balban, in his attempt to curtail the power of the nobility, increased the power and prestige of the Sultan. It was an age when power was exclusive to the persons born in noble houses. Hence, Balban tried to strengthen his claim to the throne by declaring that he was the descendant of the legendary Iranian king Afrasiab. Likewise, Balban stood as the champion of the Turkish nobility. Balban built up an aura around the throne and associated it with certain traits. He refused to entertain persons outside Turkish descent. It naturally meant the exclusion of Indian Muslims from all the positions of power and authority. He believed in a divine theory of kinship, a shadow of God on earth. He modeled his court in that of Persian manners and introduced Persian etiquettes like pavoes, prostration, and sajda, blessing of the monarch's feet. He maintained a dignified reserve and did not allow anyone to indulge in frivolity in his presence. He introduced the Persian nod ceremony in the court. Narasimhavarman first surrendered Mahamala from 1630 to 668. The son and successor of Mahendravarman Narasimhavarman first surnamed Mahamala from 1630 to 600. Narasimhavarman first surnamed Mahamala from 630 to 660 the son and successor of Mahendravarman I, is considered the greatest of the Pallava rulers. He is credited with repelling the second invasion of Pulkeshin II, killing him and capturing the Chalukyan capital Vatapi and won thereby the title of Vatapi conqueror of Vatapi. It was possibly in his struggle with Pulkeshin II that he received aid from the Simhalesi prince Manavama, whom he afterwards assisted in securing the crown of Ceylon. Yuan Shang visited Kanchi about the year 642 AD during the reign of Narasimhavarman I. He was an ardent lover of art and consecrated cave temples at different places such as Trichinopoli, Pudukkottai. His name is however best known in connection with the so-called Rathaj of Mahabalipuram, the original name of the place, Mahamalapuram. Sorry, sorry, commemorates its royal founder Mahamala, that is Narasimhavarman I. The remains of the excavations sited in the Ganahali canyon dated to between the 1st century BC to the 3rd century AD. In circa the 1st century BC, the stupa at Ganahali was constructed as per the inscriptions referred to as Hama Chatya, and it was patronized by the Hinayana and Mahayana people during the 3rd and 4th centuries AD. In the pre-Christian times, with the advent of Satvahana, the Amravati school of art made a deep impact on the sculptural and architectural forms of Ganahali region. This was indeed a period of great artistic effluence that gave the Mahachatya the most impressive form unsurpassed in the history of stupa architecture in the South India. The sculptured panels of the Meidhi are indistinctly of native creation. The skill of making two-dimensional sculptures and the carving of typical animal motifs are also of indigenous nature. They exhibit a transition phase between the early phase of Amravati sculptural art and the elaborately sculptured panels of Nagarjun Konda, with the sculptural panels found of Ganahali Stupa. The mastery of the artist of Ganahali in the carving, the geometric patterns, floral motifs, dress and ornamentation of the contemporary times, and the concept of composition of the subject matter in the large sculptured panels. The Ganahali Mahastupa is the veritable gallery of eminent rulers like King Ashoka and the Shatavahana rulers Simukha Pulumavi are immortalized by depicting their portraits at Kanaganahalli. Unlike the Torana of Sanchi, Madhya Pradesh, portrait of Emperor Ashoka is said to have depicted them. There is inscription found at Kanaganahalli. Very title, sorry. Sorry, very little is that is sorry. Sorry, sorry. Very little that is concrete is known about the Ajivikas, their scriptures and history were not preserved directly. Instead, fragments of Ajivika doctrine were preserved in Jain and Buddhist sources, and they are immortal. And they are mentioned in several inscriptions from Mauryan Empire. As a result, it is so, and they are mentioned in several inscriptions from the Mauryan Empire. As a result, it is unknown to what degree the available sources reflect the actual beliefs and practices of the Ajivikas, because most of what is known about them is recorded in the literature of rival groups. It is quite possible that accidental distortions or intentional criticism was introduced into the records. Even the name Ajivika itself may have only been assigned and used by observers from outside the tradition. Some regard Makhali Goshala as the founder of the Ajivika sect. Other sources state that the Goshala was only a leader of a large Ajivika congregation of ascetics, but not the founder of the movement itself. Goshala is believed to have been a friend of Mahavira, the 24th Tirthankara of Jainism. The Jain Bhagavati Sutra depicts Goshala as having been a disciple of Mahaviraj for a period of for, sorry the Jain Bhagavati Sutra depicts Goshala as having been a disciple of Mahaviraj for a period of 6 years, after which the two had a falling out and parted ways. Purana Kashyapa was another leader of the Ajivikas. According to the second century CE text, Ashoka Vardhana, the Mauryan emperor Bindusara and his chief queen Subhadrangi were a believer of this philosophy that reached its peak of popularity during the same time and then declined into obscurity. Ashoka Vardhana also mentions that after his conversion to Buddhism, Bindusara's son Ashoka issued an order to kill all the Ajivikas in Pundaravardhana and raised a picture that depicted Gautam Buddha in negative light. Around 18,000 followers of the Ajivika sect were executed as a result of this order. The Ajivikas may have continued to exist in India until as late as the 13th century CE, but the extent to which the tradition survived is unclear. Inscriptions from southern India make reference to the Ajivikas as late as the 13th century CE, but by this point in history the term Ajivika may have been used to refer to. In the age of Buddha, there existed a number of republican or non-monarchical states ruled by autonomous or semi-independent class. There is a difference of opinion on the relation between the monarchy and the republic. The republics were of two kinds. Some of them consisted of a single tribe, such as the Sakyas, the Koliyas, etc. Others consisted of a confederacy of tribes, the most important being the Vajes. The Sakya state with capital Kapilavastu became famous on account of the fact that the Buddha was a Shakya by birth. They claimed to belong to the Sura race and Ikshvaku family. Sorry, Ikshvaku family. They regarded themselves as people of Koshala. The Sakya state was bounded on the north by the Himalayas, on the east by the Rohini river, and on the west and south by the Rapti. Koliyas. They were the eastern neighbors of the Sakyas. They were closely related to the Sakyas by blood. The Mauryas, they were the imperial Mauryas of the 4th century BC. Their capital was Pip, Piphaliwana, which lay west. Their capital was Piphaliwana, which lay west of Kushinagar. The Maharaj, they were a powerful tribe in the eastern India, originally a monarchical state. It consisted of 9 territories, one of each of the 9 confederate clans. The territories of two of these confederate clans were prominent at the time of Buddhism. One of these two had Kushinagar as its headquarters and the other had Pava as its chief town. The Malas were a Sangha or corporation, the members of which called themselves Rajas. The Malas and the Lichvis became allies for self-defense. The Malas were finally annexed to the Magadhan Empire shortly after the death of the Buddha. The Vriji or Vajji. The Vajjian confederacy comprised 8 or 9 clans: the Videha, the Lichavis, the Jantrikas, and the Vajjis were the most prominent among them. Vaishali, modern Baisar in the Muzaffarpur district, was the capital of the Lichavis and the headquarters of the confederacy. Videha, modern Tirhut, was once a powerful monarchy with Mithila as its capital. Chantrikas had their seats of government at Kundapura, Kundagrama, and Kalaga, which were suburbs of Vaishali. Saptparni Rajagriha, 483 BC. Mahakashapa Ajatsattu Upali recited the Vinaya Pitaka, which contains the rules of the Buddhist order. Anand, the other disciple of the Buddha, recited Sutta Pitaka, containing the great collection of Buddha's sermons on matters of doctrine and ethical beliefs. Vaishali, 383 BC. Sabakami Koshala, split of the Buddhist order into Sthaviravadins or Theravadins and Mahasanghikas over small points of monastic discipline. Patliputra, 250 BC. Mongoliputra Tisa, also known as Upagupta Ashoka, establishment of the Sthaviravada school as an orthodox school. Codification of Abhidhamma Pitaka, which deals with the philosophy of Buddhism in Pali. Kundalvana, Kashmir, 72 AD. Vashwamitra Ashwagosha was the deputy of Vashwamitra Kanishka. The division of Buddhism into the Mahayana and Hinayana sects. Later Vedic period from 1000 to 600 BC was marked by further expansion of the Aryans in Later Vedic period from 1000 to 600 BC was marked by further expansion of the Aryans to parts of eastern Uttar Pradesh, northern Bihar, and parts of eastern Rajasthan. The Saptapatha Brahmana throws light on this expansion to the eastern Gangetic plains. It reports the founding of a realm called Videha by a prince Videha Madhava. The Kurus and the Bhartas were amalgamated to form the Kurus, the kingdom of which corresponds to modern Thaneshwar, Delhi, and the upper Gangetic Doab. The Panchalas were also a composite class whose territory roughly corresponds to the modern-day Bareilly, Badaयूं, Farrukhabad, and adjoining districts. The major socio-political centers of this period were the Kuru Panchala Janpada of Ganga Yamuna Doab, further regions to the east such as Koshala, eastern Uttar Pradesh. Its early capital was Ayodhya, later replaced by Shravasti, Kashi, Varanasi, Videha, North Bihar, Magdha, South Bihar, set up their settlements on the rivers Sasan and the Ganga and Anga and Wangaj, Eastern Bengal, northern tribes were the Uttakara, Uttakara, Rus, Gandharis, Kambojas, and the Kekayas. In South India, there were tribes like the Satavahanas, Vidarbhas, Nisadas, etc. Some non-Aryan tribes of the later Vedic period mentioned in the Atreya Brahmana are the Andraj, Pundraj, Sabaras, Pulindas, and Motives. The whole of the territory known to the Vedic Aryans were divided into a number of tribal principalities ruled normally by the leaders of the various tribes or kings. In the Sarajana Yuddha or the Battle of Ten Kings alluded to in various Vedic hymns, many important Vedic tribes and their personalities are found mentioned. This battle was between Shudas, a Bharata king of the Tetsu family, and the tribal confederacy of ten kings led by Vishwamitra. The federation consisting of the five well-known tribes Kuru, Yadu, Tarvasha, Anu and Dhruya along with five of Little Lord Alina, Paktha, Bhalanas, Shiva and Vishanin. In the bloody struggle on the banks of river Purushni Ravi, the Bhartaj emerged victorious. The Sudas urged to fight against the three non-Aryan tribes Rajas, Sigrus and Yakshus under the leadership of King Veda, but these new associations were also defeated on the banks of river Yamuna. Lothal 1953 SR Rao, situated in Gujarat on the Bhogwa River near Gulf of Lothal 1953 SR Rao, situated in Gujarat on Bhogwa River near Gulf of Cambay, a tiled floor which bears intersecting design of circles remains of rice husk. Rangpur is the only other urban site where the rice husk has been found. Evidence of course from a terracotta figurine the ship design on the field beads and trade boards. A terracotta ship, an instrument for measuring angles, pointing to modern day compass houses with entrances on the main street, a unique feature on as the houses of all other urban cities had side entries. Dholavira from 1985 to 1990 RS based situated in Gujarat in run of Kuch. Seven cultural stages, largest site, three parts of city, unique water management. Rangpur, 1953. MS Works, B.V. Lal and S.R. Rao, situated on the bank of Mahar in Gujarat. Rice was cultivated. The greatest forum that India faced, the greatest forum that India faced on the eve of her independence related to the partition of the country. This problem had two facets, namely the communal Holocaust on account of the direct action they observed by the Muslim League, the Great Calcutta killings, and the large exodus of population from Pakistan. This insensate act was responsible for the largest movement of people in the world's history. By the end of 1940, 17 million people had been herded or driven from one country to another. The resettlement of this uprooted population placed a crippling burden on the economy of the country. The resettlement of this uprooted population placed a crippling burden on the economy of the country. Another problem related to the demarcation of boundary between the two countries on the basis of the Radcliffe Award announced on August Radcliffe Award. announced on August 17, 1947. Radcliffe Radcliffe Award announced on August 17, 1947. Another problem related to the demarcation of boundary Another problem related to the demarcation of boundary between the two countries on the basis of the Radcliffe Award announced on August 17, 1947. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best. 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 धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best. धन्यवाद. Thank you so much. All the best.